What's good, everybody? Chris here again. Chris Goes Outdoors. Part 2 of the winter gear video begins right now. We are going to talk about my winter layering system. As far as winter gear goes, there's a lot of layers involved. Keep your body temperature regulated. You don't want to sweat out too much, but you don't want to be freezing as well. This is the system that I found has worked extremely well for me. Might not work well for you. Again, as I've said in previous videos, I'm not recommending any of this gear to anyone. Take what I tell you here, do your own research as well, and find the gear that works best for you. So we're going to talk about base layers. So on my actual person, starting from all the way down, unfortunately I am in a very public park, so I can't tell you or show you exactly what I'm wearing, but underneath this I would have a pair of ex officio boxers. So I got that on right now under here. I usually go with the 9-inch inseam, same stuff I used on the Appalachian Trail. Love them as hiking boxers and everyday boxers. They work excellent. They are synthetic and they do dry out really quick. For socks, I have been using these, and I bought these on the AT as well. These are actually Wigwam. Apparently they are the Ultimax, and I found that these work very well for me. I have used Darn Tough as well. Those work pretty good as well, but just messing around with the Wigwams for the moment. And then for shirt, I typically wear this, and this is actually a fairly lightweight merino wool shirt. And this is technically a Cabela's wool shirt. I don't know the actual weight of the wool, but this is a Cabela's wool shirt that was actually made by Icebreakers. A little tag on here says Icebreaker Merino, and I got these on a pretty steep sale. I think I paid like $18 for these shirts. I bought 3 of them in 2 long sleeve ones. They were all like 18 bucks a pop. I don't know if Icebreaker still technically makes these for Cabela's, if it's even an option to buy them from Cabela's anymore. I genuinely feel like any wool shirt will do fairly well as a base layer. Some people prefer synthetic. Synthetic does kind of stink a little though once you start sweating it out, especially in my experience. The wool I really like. It doesn't smell as bad. I feel like it dries out pretty quick, and even when you are sweating, I feel like it retains heat a little better. Could be subjective, could be me just being crazy, but that is my experience. So I stick with the wool undergarment. So above the boxers, again, I would love to show you fine folks, model some sexy leggings for you, but there's a trail literally walking like right behind me, so I'm gonna spare the people the misery. And these are usually the ones I wear for leggings, and this is another maybe mid-weight wool. This is by Icebreaker, just says Icebreaker Merino wool, and these are size extra large. I am 6 feet, roughly 220 pounds. They fit good, so I don't feel, you know, they're super tight. They're a base layer, so they're tight to the skin, but they're not like super tight, and they're not too loose. So these are the perfect size for me in my experience, especially when wearing over boxers. So I will wear these as my my second pant layer. I have found that these, even when they do get wet, are still really warm, and they do dry out pretty quick as well. So there have been times when I've worn these even on the AT, and they've gotten wet. I used to wear these to bed on the AT. Got them a pretty steep discount at Marshall's of all places. So keep an eye on Marshall's, TJ Maxx, those kind of stores. You might find some stuff like this there. I've had these for, God, it's got to be 3 years now, and they're still great, no holes. I do have a little hole in this. I wore this shirt on the AT for a while. Might be able to see there, but it's where the belt clipped in, so got a little torn up from the belt. My third layer of pants, and this depends pretty widely on the temperature range. So if I know that it's going to be, I don't know, say maybe 40 to 20, I'll typically just wear a pair of shorts for my third pants layer. I guess you'd call it a shorts layer in that case. And that's just because I don't really need the additional heat that another layer of pants would give me. I feel like while I'm mobile and moving around between like 40 and 20, I do fine with just the Icebreaker leggings and a pair of shorts. It's not an issue. I do wear gaiters, and we'll talk about that, especially in the winter. Gaiters in the White Mountains, it's 100% necessity in my opinion. In the event that it's colder, and I know it's going to be colder, I usually pick these, and this is the Prana Stretch Zion pants. They're a little wider cut. I've tried on the Bryons before, and those are very thin in like the leg up here, and like kind of taper out at the bottom. which seems the exact opposite of what you need. So I much prefer the Zions. They also have a built-in belt that I don't really care for, so I just use this super simple belt, which is made by Bison Designs. So very comfortable belt, very comfortable buckle as well. And the pants themselves are pretty solid. So supposedly they are kind of water repellent. They're definitely not waterproof. Keep that in mind for sure. You definitely don't want to get these things soaked. But as far as moving around, I had these out when we did Mount Kearsarge the other day, and that was temp-wise, so we were looking at least 0 degrees at the top of the mountain, and with the wind chill it was brutal. And I felt completely comfortable in boxers, the merino leggings, and this. And I did strap on one other layer, but we'll talk about that momentarily. Another thing about the Prana Zions, I have 2 pairs of these. I wear these essentially every day. I even wear them to work literally every day. And durability wise, I've been wearing them, it's got to be 3 years now, and they are still holding up completely well. So a little pricey. On sale they're probably like $55-ish. Not on sale they're probably like $65, $70. I could definitely find them cheaper too on sale, but I think they are definitely worth the money. After my wool shirt for my mid layer, we pop on this guy. So this right here is the fabled and much sought after Melanzana Micro Grid Fleece Hoodie. And I have another item that I'll show you momentarily that you could, in theory, replace this with pretty easy. These are made at the store in, I believe it's Leadville, Colorado. They make everything there at the store. So you cannot get these anymore online. You can only get them from the store, or you can be one of those crazy people that pays $200 for one on eBay. This is an awesome, awesome, awesome mid layer. I absolutely love this. I've used it extensively on the Appalachian Trail, and continue to use it in the winter. And it's my go-to kind of like mid layer or after undershirt layer for winter hiking too. And I think you'll be able to see it is a square grid fleece hoodie, and it keeps you warm, but it also breathes really well. So in the whites, the trails are very, very steep. A lot of times you start sweating extensively going uphill. And I found temps ranging from that 20 to 40 degree where I'm, you know, comfortable in just the leggings and shorts. I'm comfortable hiking in just a t-shirt and this. It's hard to explain. It definitely keeps me warm, but I'm not overheating, and I think that's exactly what you're aiming for in the winter. You don't want to be sweating it out, and you don't want to be super cold. This has helped me achieve that pretty well. The big pro about this is the hood. So it has this neck extension and cover right there, and you can cinch it down really good and keep yourself nice and toasty. It also has the hand pocket here. It's just a really well-made piece of gear, and it does what it's supposed to do. So if you can get your hand on one of these, they're pretty solid pieces of gear from my experience. Again, not recommending it just because I'm not recommending anything, but I have had very, very, very good success and use of the Melanzana Fleece Hoodie. Before I jump into the next layer, I'm going to talk about headgear because my head is freezing right now. My first layer of protection for my extremely bald head is a buff, and I wear one of these on every hike. As someone with no hair, it just helps kind of absorb sweat and helps retain a little bit of warmth as well. If you decide during the night, or if you're hiking, you feel like you don't need it on your head, can pull it down, still use it like a neck gaiter. Can still, if you don't have a massive head, keep it like this, kind of like a balaclava style. For me, it's always up on my head, with the exception of maybe nighttime. A lot of times I'll take it off at nighttime. After this, if it's really, really cold, I just use a standard knit hat. A knit hat? How dare you? So this is literally just some random REI co-op brand knit hat, and it's rarely on while I'm hiking. I'll usually keep it on in the morning or until I'm kind of moving, getting warm. And then once I feel like my head's warmed up, I'll just put it in my backpack. Just don't want it to get too soaked. I believe it is cotton. So, you know, once that's wet, it stays wet. And another way to manage, you know, your head temperature, and I use this a lot in the Sub-Zero Thanksgiving video. You'll see in a bunch of the shots, sometimes I'll just have this, sometimes I'll have this hood on, and then sometimes I have an additional hood on even over this. So we'll talk about the suggestion as far as possible option if you can't get your hands on one of these Melanzana fleeces. I wouldn't say that they're completely comparable. I switch these two out personally sometimes on hikes. So if you look back on some of my older winter videos, you'll see I'm not wearing this out, but I'm actually wearing this, and I'll usually keep this on me anyway, just as an additional layer and maybe even to wear to bed. But this right here is the Patagonia R1 hoodie, and this is another grid hoodie, and this thing is an athletic fit, I would call it. So I wear an extra large. It's got a 3/4 zip right here, a little chest pocket that I never really use. It's got a very tight hood on top here. It also has thumb holes, which the Melanzana hoodie does not, and the actual length of it too is even longer than most fleeces are. And that's because I believe this was designed with ice climbers in mind. So it's got that kind of extension to go under a harness. But I'll pop this on just so you can see it. You can see just how low this thing goes, which arguably is good for winter hiking. So when you put your pack on, your pack will go over it and kind of keep everything cinched down, keep you warm. Even covers my butt a little, keeps my butt a little warmer. And then the hood, you'll see, is it's really tight. And if I didn't have a monster beard, I could zip this up and keep most of my face covered as well. So I think this is a very viable option if you can't get your hands on one of the Melanzana fleeces. I would say that this is, I don't want to say significantly warmer, but there's definitely a difference in warmth. The R1 I would say is warmer. Either way, you can get your hand on one of these for, I think the REI Thanksgiving sale, they had these for like $100 roughly. New, they are pretty expensive. They're like $160, I think, with no discount, which it's a little steep for me, but I don't know, maybe for you it's not. Just giving you options, telling you what I've used and what's worked for me. If I didn't have the Melly, this would probably be my go-to kind of mid-layer here. If I don't have that with me, this is my second choice, so my mid layer, I guess you'd call it. And this right here is an Arc'teryx Atom LT hoodie. So this right here is just a synthetic insulated jacket, and you'll see in the Sub-Zero Thanksgiving hike video that I'm wearing this essentially the whole way up. So if it's below 20, I will usually hike in this as well. I get substantial warmth having this over the Melly. Well, that warmth is good, especially if you're going uphill. You can start to sweat, but the plus, it has the zipper so you can kind of vent out. And this jacket is just so comfortable, so comfortable. It's hard to explain, but the feel of the fabric is super nice. I think it's like just the perfect amount of insulation for like the next layer. And you can pull the hood up on top as well. And this one just fits really well. Supposedly it's helmet compatible too, if you're doing, you know, ice climbing or rock climbing and stuff, but I don't really do any of that. It's just got the tension system right here on the back, which works real well, no problems. They're a little bit expensive. They, I think, sell new for $200, which I would not pay. I picked mine up essentially unused at an REI garage sale for $70, and for $70, I would buy another one of these if I had the opportunity. The only downside to these is I've noticed, as a guy with kind of a bigger chest, if you keep it half zipped like this and you're moving around, the zipper is so like easy to move up and down that sometimes you'll just be walking and it'll just slide down. But other than that, it's kind of the only downside I've ever had to this hoodie. I really enjoy it as a mid layer, and again, where it is synthetic insulation, you don't have to really worry about sweating in it. With down, if down gets wet, it does lose some of its insulation properties and can be rendered useless, especially if it's wet. So it's nice to have the synthetic layers to keep warm. For my face, if again, I'm hiking in, we'll say maybe 30s to 40s, I like to have this over my face or around my neck at least. So this is a CTR fleece neck gaiter. So I'll usually just pop this guy on depending on the temps. So if it's around 20s, I usually go with this. If it's over 20, I usually don't need it I'll probably put it on, but I usually just leave it down like this, just to have on me, kind of block some cold air from getting in here. And then if we get to like a super windy section where it's, you know, really cold or whatever, I can pop it up if it's super cold. I've had good experiences with this, and it's worked really well. So you can get these on Amazon. I just checked the other day because Anna was considering getting one. You can get this thing $12 shipped to your door, and it's awesome for that price. It's worked really well for me. Most of my winter hikes, you'll see that this is on me. It's great to use for bed too, with the sleeping bag. Your face is kind of open, so I personally like to have my nose covered and my lower portion of my face covered when I'm sleeping in the winter like that, so it keeps more warmth in. As a warmer option to cover your face, and I use this again on the sub-zero hike day. I like this because I feel like it lets you breathe out better, less chance of fogging up lenses, so I wear this when it's bitter cold out. I prefer this one if I can, but this one does give you better space as far as exhaling. So if you exhale, it comes through the nose. And this is a Sirius, S-E-I-R-U-S face mask. So it's fleece over here, and I believe this is neoprene, they call it, and it just Velcros in the back. This just goes on like this. In all honesty, if I didn't have this on that sub-zero hike, it probably would have been brutal. The fleece one, the other one, the CTR one, probably would have worked okay, but this thing was just, it was so much better because I was able to breathe through my nose, exhale, and not have to worry about, you know, freezing up my my fleece. The other one covers your nose completely. This one has the space to cut out to let your breath come out naturally. It also has holes in here to help you vent out as well. Again, just different options. If I don't need to wear this, I prefer not wearing this. It works well, and I will wear it all the time in temperatures like that. But again, if I don't have to, I prefer just to wear this CTR one. So I am wearing, I hope you can see it, these are the Keen Durand, D-U-R-A-N-D. I was using the Targhee 2s for a long time, but I feel like my feet grew after the Appalachian Trail. And I came back, put them in the Targhees, which were size 11.5s, and they just didn't feel right anymore. So I ended up picking up these also at an REI garage sale, and I paid 90 bucks for them. They have been working very well for the winter hikes. On top of the bitter cold Mount Kearsarge, I did not feel cold at all. My feet were warm the entire time, and that was just with one pair of socks and these boots. I don't know why, and I don't particularly care to think about it, but they're not insulated. They are supposedly waterproof. They have the Keen waterproofing on the inside. No issues with them, but I also haven't put them through too much use. So, and then pant-wise, so this is one of the final layers of pants, and I say this as in like, this is kind of like the last line of defense. So this is a pair of Marmot Gore-Tex pants. So these ones right here are the minimalist pant, and they are waterproof supposedly, and windproof as well. And these, I have never actually had to use these. I love having them in the event of heavy winds and just keeping that warmth in a little more and blocking out some of the wind, but I have not had to use these. They do go over my entire pants, no problem, and they're always in there just in case. And I know people in the ultralight community are, don't carry just in case items. For me, especially in winter, always carry a just in case item, especially something like this. Winter, especially in the whites, you know, varies where people are from, but not having one of those in case items in winter, especially in the White Mountains, can be fatal, you know, so to me, it's just worth it to have these. They unbutton on the side here, and they also have zippers like right at the foot, so you don't technically have to take your boots off to get your feet inside of these, which is nice. I might prefer a full zip side, but in all honesty, that would kind of affect the waterproofing and maybe even the wind resistance, so it doesn't matter to me. But it's good to have the peace of mind of these in there for sure, if I ever need them. Arguably, one of my most fashionable layers. This is the Enlightened Equipment Snow Wrap. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I don't know why they keep calling these things kilts and wraps and whatever. Let's call it what it is, it's a skirt. Enlightened Equipment offers these with a 2-ounce Apex, which is a synthetic insulation, or 4-ounce Apex. I chose the 4-ounce just because it's supposed to be warmer than the 2-ounce. and I get the medium size. So this thing just wraps around your person. It's got 2 snaps right here up top, and then it's got a little cinch cord, shock cord right there, and toggles so you can tighten it to your waist. And you can also tighten these up and snap them, and then snap it up completely if you want. From my experience so far, I've really enjoyed having this. It's nice to be able to pop on some additional warmth when it's really cold out, but not have to take off boots and stuff. And it's just super easy to throw this thing around you. I also really enjoyed having it at camp because I could just kind of take it off and lay it over me like a blanket while I was cooking. I also wore it on top of Kearsarge when we were up there in the Sub-Zero hike, and definitely helped. It helped a lot. Active layer, still layer, whatever you need. Gonna continue to put this thing to use. I always carry and use a pair of, I think these would technically be liner gloves, but these ones are Mountain Hardwear. I don't know the actual model name. I use these while hiking and they work really well. I typically will only use this one pair. I do have another pair in my clothing bag in the event that these get wet, which they will from sweat, and sometimes if you slip and fall in snow or something, or even in water, it's very nice to have an extra pair. If the hands get really cold, I also have these, which are just another heavier glove. So these are Eastern Mountain Sports as well, and yeah, they work pretty good. I very rarely ever have to use these, but they're there if I need them. And yeah, they go up pretty far and you can cinch them down. They are insulated as well. They use, I think, Primaloft insulation they call it, and from what I've been told, they're waterproof or waterproof-ish, but I have not really tested that. These are always around. You'll see them probably hanging off my backpack most of the time, just so they're available, but I don't really use them if I don't have to. I have found that for myself, just the one layer of gloves usually enough. And then it's kind of my final layer for insulation on my top part. This right here is the REI Stormhenge jacket. So this is technically a down jacket, but it's also waterproof. So it's kind of an interesting coat, I think. And I researched this one for a while. I think new they sell for like 250 bucks, and I couldn't spend that. I couldn't get myself to do it. But supposedly they're waterproof. It does have down inside, and it has like all the other features I was looking for. So adjustable cuffs. I really like the color. Not that it really matters. It could have been rainbow colored for the price I paid for it, and I still would have bought it. It's got a little chest pocket here. Got 2 pockets here. All the pockets have zippers. It even has pit zips. It also cinches on the sides here too. I picked this up at an REI garage sale, and I picked it up for $22. The zipper on the jacket was just destroyed. And I've heard other stories about the zipper on these, just not that great. So I paid about $40 and got a full zipper replacement. Some nice YKK zipper action on here. So for around $65, I paid for this coat. And this is a new piece to me this year, so not much experience with it, but I did wear it kicking around in camp on the Square Ledge video, so you can see it on me in the morning. I wore it while we started hiking, and I got warm really quick and was wearing it around camp in the morning. Felt completely warm. Packs down really nice, pretty small for what it is and the amount of warmth it offers. It's pretty legit. This is the Outdoor Research Helium 2. It's a rain jacket, very light. I don't particularly care for it in summer just because it turns into a sweat box, but in the winter it's kind of a nice additional layer to kind of trap warmth in, and works pretty well. I would typically not throw that on over that down jacket, the REI Stormhenge, but I would throw it on like over all this, and it would definitely help keep some more heat in for sure. But just another additional layer, help keep you warm out there. And then on a list of other layers, these right here are the gaiters I use. These are the Outdoor Research Crocodile gaiters. So you just take these, unvelcro them. You can adjust the buckle here, but mine's already adjusted since I use these all the time. and these slip on right under your foot. So I've showed these gaiters off pretty extensively in my 5 winter hiking essentials video. I'll try to pop a link up there for that. These are my go-to gaiters. In New Hampshire, you need a pair of gaiters. If there's snow on the ground, they're so helpful. They keep your lower legs dry, they keep snow from getting in your boot, and they just work. They do their job. No issues with these whatsoever. So they've been working really well for me. Other companies make different gaiters. I know Eastern Mountain Sports makes them. I think REI has their own version. So you can take a look around if one of those works better for you. But the Outdoor Research, the crocodile gaiters, have worked very well for me. You may have seen in the Sub-Zero hiking video, I was wearing one of these, and this is ski goggles. These are Olay. I don't know anything really about them. I got these at a TJ Maxx, and just bring them with me for hikes like that where I know visibility is probably going to be an issue, and it was up there. So I was very, very happy to have these. They helped keep my face warm too. I did have issues with them starting to fog up, and then in that cold it does freeze. If anybody's got a better idea on how to keep these from freezing up, let me know. But I mean, when you're climbing mountains like that and perspiring and it's like starting to fog them up, especially in that cold, it was just freezing, and freezing a layer right over it. So they worked okay. They are vented, and I did leave the vents open, but unfortunately it just didn't really help. I don't think a more expensive set would have done necessarily better. Tried putting them in the pocket, but then they just got wet again. I tried to dry them out, and then that thin layer that was left would just refreeze. So yeah, any ideas for, you know, keeping them from freezing and fogging up, definitely leave them in the comments below. If you think a more expensive pair would do better, let me know. Standard issue, or should be standard issue for most hikers in New Hampshire. I go with these guys right here. These are the Melanzana Micro Spikes. So these are just traction devices for your feet. I only use these when the trail is super well packed down. If a trail is not packed down and you were sinking through it super deep and post-holing, please wear snowshoes. It is literally a hazard to everybody else if you were just stomping around trailing these, sinking in and stuff. For the love of God, just wear snowshoes if you're post-holing away. But these are pretty good and work very, very well for just basic traction. When we did Kearsarge, the trail was super well packed down, so we only had to wear these, and they just slide on over your boot or shoe. You can technically put these on like trail runners and stuff too. And there you go, strapped on, good to go. I talked about these in my 5 winter hiking essentials videos as well. And yeah, they work really, really well. Using the same pair for 2-3 years now, still going good. As far as snowshoes, so I have been using the MSR Lightning Sense since kind of the dawn of time. I had been using the 25-inch version, but I came across another pair at REI, another garage sale item, and these are the 22-inch version. So the snow and the whites, I feel like kind of lends itself to smaller snowshoes. If I'm being honest, if I could get my hands on something even smaller than this, I would probably go for that. But I feel like 22 is probably a good size for most people. I found that with the 25-inch snowshoes, I ended up tripping more often because they're kind of clunky to walk around in. So for most people, and again, my experience, I do recommend 22 over say 25 and 28. I'm definitely over the weight range considered for these, like in the like descriptions, but it's worked fine for me. AJ picked up a pair of the MSR Evo Ascents. Those have been working really well for him. Anna has a pair of the Revo Ascents, so we're kind of an MSR snowshoe people, and they've been working well for all of us. No major issues. They do what they do pretty well. Again, talked about these in my winter hiking essentials video, but they also have the heel lift right there, which I think is called a televator. And this helps immensely when you're going uphill, so your foot just stays kind of level and you don't like sink back down. It just makes going uphill, like really steep hills, easier, and they just flip right down and back up really, really easy. But we got a huge, big old crampon right there to hook in. So far, so good. And I talked about these poles in my trekking pole video, but this is the trekking pole, I only use one, that I have been using. And these are the Cascade Mountain Techs, their new 3K trekking pole, so it's a woven carbon fiber. I put the snow baskets on there and they've worked well. So the last 2 hikes, no issues. They've been solid for the hikes I've used them on. We'll continue to keep wearing these things down, see how they handle through the entire White Mountains winter. And then just a couple miscellaneous things. I talked about some extra clothing that I typically will carry with me. So I'll just show you that real quick. This is a Z-Packs pillow dry bag that I just keep my other clothing in. For bed, if I can, I very, very much like to change clothing so I'm out of my cold, damp, you know, hiking day clothing. And this right here is a set of the Patagonia Capilene thermal weight base layers. So I have a pair of the leggings and one of the hooded base layers right here. This one, both of these are XL, and the pants are a little big on me, but whatever, works fine. These are almost like a grid fleece, and they just work really well. So they're warm enough just to give you enough warmth, but they also breathe really well. They're pretty delicate, so you can rip this material pretty easy, but where I only really wear them to bed, I had these on the AT with me for a while, and these were still kicking pretty good. They give me just enough warmth and kind of are a nice barrier between the sleeping bag and you, so if you start sweating a little, it helps with that as well. It doesn't leave you with that kind of sticky sleeping bag feeling. The hooded top layer right here, it's got a little quarter zip right there so you can get in easier, and they're super light. I'm pretty sure they're like 6 or 7 ounces each. Just enough warmth to keep you cozy through the night. I also like to keep an extra pair of gloves. These are the Eastern Mountain Sports, the fleece liners. Nice to have an extra pair just in case. Same thing with socks. So technically I usually have 2 extra pairs of socks. I have a thick wool one that I usually use to wrap my water bottles in, if you watch the first part of this video, and then I like to have an extra pair to sleep in, or if worse came to worse, I somehow got my socks soaked on the trail, that I could switch these up for. That is really it. That is essentially my full layering system. I feel like this video is probably going to be another one of those super long ones, but I feel like it's information that's helpful. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Hopefully you got something useful out of it. I would like to say one more time, I'm not recommending any of this gear to any of you. If you see it and you think it's something that might be worthwhile, do your own research as well. Check in what other people have said, how it's held up for other people, other people's experiences with it, and just try to make the best informed decision you can for gear for you. If you go and take this layering system out where you live and you end up dying from hypothermia, that's not on me. You should have done your own research. This is a system that I have been testing now for, God, what, 2 years? 2 years I've been using most of this gear for. I know that it works pretty well for me. I cannot guarantee you at all that it will work well for you. So with that said, I'll try to leave links down in the description below. Some of them might be affiliate links for Amazon, so if you buy through them, I do receive some money. With that said, give it some thought before you buy. As much as I appreciate your dollars, give it some thought. If you really, really need something, you know, give it 24 hours, maybe even longer, maybe a week. And if you're still thinking about it, would I appreciate it if you come back through, click through my affiliate link and bought it? Sure. Ultimately, look around, find the best deal for you, even if it's not on Amazon, check REI, all the backpacking sites, anywhere. Try to buy used, eBay, whatever works. I'm sorry, I babbled on. Oh God, I think this video is like 35 minutes too. I'm so sorry, but anyways, if you liked the video, drop it a like. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, definitely leave a comment down below. You can also follow me on Instagram if you care to, at Chris Goes Outdoors. Don't feel obligated. Social media is pretty lame. The only reason I update it is if YouTube decides to just shut down my channel. I can at least communicate with people after the fact. And that's gonna do it, everyone. Again, hope the video was helpful. Sorry if you don't like it and I babbled too much, but I'm out of here. Take care. We'll see you in the next one.